In the presentation of Almanac of Forgotten Memories, Federico Possati wrote, "In 2020 I became a father for the second time, and I moved back to Milan after living in New York for 8 years. The last time I lived in Milan was in 2010, and back then I was single, studying mechanical engineering, and spending the night dreaming of becoming an artist. I felt like a transformative life cycle had ended, and another one had begun. My book, Almanac of Forgotten Memories, explores this transformation. This book was born out of a necessity to give meaning and weight to an ever-growing pile of images, an obsessive catalogue of small treasure found in everyday life." Welcome to the episode 8 of Small Photobook Cult. Welcome to Federico. I'm really glad to have you here. And it was a while we were trying to find the right time to be in the same city to do it. And finally, today, let's speak about Almanac.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriele. Thank you so much for having me. So Almanac is a photo book that's made with text and image. It's a diary, and it's 368 pages, so a bit more than one page every year, and it covers every day, and it covers 12 years in a life. So every month it's taken from a different year. If it's okay, we'll start. Maybe I would like to read just the first chapter and
of course.
Read the text and maybe talk a bit more about the project.
Yeah, I also want to speak about how you worked with the text, because I saw in the presentation of the book 2 months ago, and it's really impressive the way you decide to use the text and the way you work with the text, because you start to, like, this text were a bit longer, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, those texts were so long. This book has been really a weird exercise because in a certain way it was really an exercise in abundance, because it's so many photos. It's 189 photos, and it's a text of restriction, an exercise in restriction, because I try to take out as many words as possible from this text. So the book is basically divided in 12 chapters, and each chapter it's a month. And in each chapter, it's a short anecdote, a short story, a short event, something that felt significant to me. And together they form a bit of a narrative arc. And it was, the way it started when I decided to turn this book into a diary, and when I thought that let's take a step back.
But was it like each one was a kind of short story in the start, or not?
It was more like a long description of an event. Like, it was really like a diary. Like some people journal and they take and they write, and there were these events. So basically, I think I would like to just open the book, and
it's going to be the shortest presentation of the podcast, and I like it because normally we stay a lot of time with the logo, and a lot of people also think that there is no video in this podcast, but yeah, there is.
Because for me, like, I would like just to start with the first photo, which is a grave with engraved on the words l'amore, which means love. So this photo for me, it was a good starting point, because I thought that the 12 years I was talking about had a bit this in common. It was a bit about learning how to. It was my journey learning how to love myself, how to love the work, how to love what I was doing, how to love the people around me. And so, like, this to me was a very good way to start a difficult project, and it helped me to give me a word to think about while I was editing both the text and the images. I think it's something that I know, for example, a lot of filmmakers try to have a mantra in their mind when they're working on a project. So, like, a few words that sum up the work. And so this was a starting point to work on all these little stories that I think have this in common. The stories, like these 12 chapters, are not like descriptive of big events or things that rocked my world, but it was more about like small moments that make me realize something or that stuck with me, and I use them as a way to readdress certain things, I would say.
You said you want to read the first.
I would like to read it because I think it will give an idea of how the book is structured. So this is the beginning. It's January 2010. I just bumped into my favorite high school teacher. I have not seen her in years. I told her about my life, about feeling stuck. So much schooling and you still have not learned how to love, she said. Obsession, passion, and affection are 3 separate things. Getting a dog could help you to understand it. I went to a few animal shelters since. But every time I met the animals' longing eyes, I always felt uneasy and left in a hurry. Yeah, so this
is the first one.
This is the first one. Yeah,
and it was like a longer like short stories.
Yeah. It was. First of all, like it changed a lot. So the way I approached it, so I talked about it at the event we were at. Like the idea to turn this into a diary happened when I moved back to Italy after living in the United States for 8 years. And when I came back, it felt like a circle of my life basically finished. Like last time I was in Italy, I was studying engineering. When I came back, I was trying to work as a creative person, and I had a family. My wife was pregnant with my daughter, with my second child. And so like I had this idea of try to turn all the photos I took into a diary. And so I started with a lot of text, a lot of like pages and pages of certain years, certain things that happened in certain years. And I felt it was very, very hard to read it, and it was very, very hard to create a narrative that wasn't incredibly slow and boring. It felt I was doing it a lot for myself, and I wasn't trying to make it readable or digestible for other people. And so like a big inspiration while I was working on this book was Jason Fulford's The Mushroom Collector, which is one of my favorite books. And the things I love the most is that do you know the book I'm talking about?
No, I never saw it.
So it's a really cool book because basically like Jason was gifted a box of photos of mushrooms that a friend of him found, I think, at a flea market, and so he uses them in this book, and he puts them in the edit along with his own photos, and then the edit is complete madness. And the thing that's really cool is that there is a very, very short amount of text that keeps everything together. It's like it feels like there is like a tiny needle with a very, very thin thread that brings everything together. And I was in such awe and admiration of that. And I was like, well, let's see, like, how much can I make it simpler? And another thing, like, I really liked, there's the writer Stefan Zweig, whose work I like, and he was saying, like, my best days as a writer are when I'm able to take away, like, a whole page from my book. I was like, my wife is like, how was the day? It was great. I took out so many words, so many things. And so I was like, okay, let's see how thin I can make it.
But to be honest, it's the first time that I read with you now the text in this book in this way, mm-hmm. like reading it completely from the start to the end. I always, all the time that I went through the book, I just was reading every single sentence alone.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's the way probably a lot of people experience it. And I think it works in a amazing way, because it's really dreamy, let's say.
Yeah, it was a bit long to edit. It took me a couple of years, like not every day, but of like going back to it over and over again, because I think it's hard to do photos and text well together. And the reason for that is that it's very easy for it to become very either descriptive or non-descriptive at all. So it was an exercise in trying to have a sequence of photos that worked on its own, a sequence of text that worked on its own, pairings between text and images that worked well, and to have also a bit of a narrative arc. And also, like, one of the biggest challenges was not to lose the audience, the reader, while you have it, because it's so many pages. Again, it's 368 pages, and it's a lot of photos and a lot of text. So I was trying to make it entertaining, like to make it work on many different levels. Even the design, like. I try to make it. I like that the photos move around. I like that you have white pages. I like that the text moves around. I feel like I was telling you that I did a lot of dummies for this book, and every time I make a new edit, I reprint the whole book with my laser printer, basically, and I go through it because it has to flow very well, and it has to. I don't want to ever be pulled out of the experience. And I don't know, it was a very long experience. It was a very long process, and I was very lucky to work with some designers that really understood what I was trying to do. And
yeah, there is also there is this chronological path in the book, right? I was working yeah, the monitor is a mess.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was mine.
No, don't worry, it's my monitor and it's shitty.
I'm sorry.
Just you don't see the monitor, but it's quite dirty. Like Federico was trying to scratching away something
because I do it on my monitor all the times, and I forgot this is not my computer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sometimes I also think that I think, is it on the picture or on my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, it's always my screen. Now I want to ask you. Did you work a lot in to try to match the images with the text?
It was a weird work, because it was a lot of going back and forth between the text and the images. So it started with I write all of these little chapters, all this text. And basically I got a huge desk and I cut everything up. I cut all the sentences up. I cut all the images, and I start to try to make it. It was a long process to try to not make them to talk to each other a lot.
Like you're saying, like text and images.
Yes, to make it work more like two instruments playing a song. So they're working together, but they're not too descriptive. And I don't know, I think it's a bit hard for me to verbalize it better than this. But it's, every time there was a situation that was too obvious, I moved it a page over or 2 pages over, or so maybe there is something that's lingering, but it's not exactly there, but it's not too far. It was a bit to try to make them chase each other and to keep a bit of tension in that sense, because I think it's, again, especially because it's such a big book and because it's so many things together. I wanted it to make I want to make it a bit interesting for the whole length. I like this chapter, and yes. So one thing that I did a lot was trying to group images together, to have a sequence of images that had some points in contact in common. So if you take away all the text in these first chapters, it's still work. There are still points in contact between the images, and they still work together. And I feel like I'm taking the reader by the hand at the beginning, and I'm trying to take them into this story and this journey. So I think that the beginning is a bit more digestible, and it's a bit clearer once you get into the book. And one thing that I think it's cool, and so at first I made this book and I tried to do it all on my own. I had this big idea of editing it, taking the photos, writing the text, and designing it on myself. And I tried to pitch it to publishers and festivals, and I got a pretty poor reception. And but I really cared about this book like a lot, and so I hired some designers from Rome to work on it. And it was the first time for me that I opened up to a collaboration with another person, and it was a great experience. And one thing that they did that I absolutely love is that at a certain point, here I'm going a bit forward in the book, the editing of the book, it starts to get a bit the design elements start to get a bit out of sync with the text. So, for example, in this chapter, this is the end of the chapter, and now the text June 2015, that's usually like before the beginning of the text, starts to move on. So now it's at the beginning of, I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but like the
yeah, we saw it before. It was just alone in a page, right?
Yes, and now here, for example, like I'm sorry, I'm jumping a bit back and forward, okay. But for example, this is the end of a chapter. Maybe later we'll go a bit slower on the chapters. Here is the beginning of another story, and it keeps going. But the text, but the month break, so July 2020. Keeps moving forward, and so all these design elements start to get out of sync, and it starts to get a bit messy. And I think it reflects very well the theme of the book and the editing of the book. And I think the design, like at first, it's a bit easier and simpler to follow, and then it starts to become a bit more manic. And I don't know. I thought it was a very clever and way to bring all of the elements that make the book together. Thematic-wise, I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, but
it's a bit, yeah.
You have some questions.
Yes.
So first of all, you can understand when a chapter is finished because you have 2 blank pages, right? Or not?
I think so, yeah. That's a good question.
So is this one the end of one chapter?
I thought, well, it's a fair question. For me, like, I thought it was a bit clear from the text, but now that you make me, like it's weird because it's a book I worked so much on my own that I never really talked about it with someone else. So I can tell you what I see in it, but maybe the designers saw something else that was completely different, and they thought it was. I don't know, but there are also some blank pages that are not at the end of the chapter. So that's a very good question.
So why you think that starting in a, let's say, more clear way, and then going a bit more chaotic works in a good way for the project?
I think you're asking when you make a photo book, at least photo books that I like, you're asking the reader to come with you on a journey. Mm-hmm. And I think the journey can be hard or it can be easy, but I think you should lead the reader a bit. You should make them understand what the rules of this world are. Like, how does this book work? Well, it's text and photos. So, like, the first chapter is pretty straightforward. The editing is pretty straightforward. And then you can start to complicate things a bit. I think you should try to respect the intelligence of the reader, like to not make it too stupid. But I think also you should make it possible to understand what you're trying to do. So in that sense, for me, it's very important at the beginning to show like how the book works, and then you can start to mess it up and have fun. I think it's because then you gain their attention. Like if somebody is at a certain point, they are invested enough, I think, in the book, and they are interested enough that you can try to push it further. So like, so that I think would be my approach.
But is there also a connection with your specific moment in life? messy?
So I think it starts more with a clear story, like it's a clear anecdote. The chapter I read that I think it feels like an establishing shot in a movie. Like it feels like the first minutes where you understand like what's going on, and you understand a bit the macro theme, and then. Like this is a diary. It talks about 12 years, and also like these chapters are very they're very short anecdotes and they're very scattered. So like the months, it starts from January 2020, there's February 2011, then it goes to I think 2014, then 2017, then it goes back and forward. So it's not really about following a chronological order. It's more like trying to have an emotional core. So I think this book talks a lot about, I don't know, for me was I was living in Italy before, I was studying engineering and I dropped off and I went to chase this dream and I wanted to be a filmmaker, and then I started to work as a photographer. But it's a lot about all of the insecurity that went with it, with a lot of all the doubts, a lot of the troubles of being I don't know, free while doing this work. It's I think as artists we have to. My goal was just to share a personal experience and to make it it honest, and hopefully it will resonate with people. But I don't know.
I think it works really well with me because I experienced this so many times that more you go deep and less you start to understand that it's a paradox in some way. Because you start thinking that more you go deep, more you understand, but it doesn't work like that. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Specifically with the project, with the photographic project, when we went, for example, in some places, try to start a project somewhere and try to understand something and to describe it with pictures, it's always a mess. Like you start to add things that you think that can explain better, but in the end, you just add some chaos around.
Yeah, it's such a weird medium. Like. I don't know. While I was working on this project, I was thinking a lot about about the viewer, about the reader, about the line between being understood and being able to share exactly what you have in mind. And this book is born out of a desire to talk about myself, my personal life, about trying to make a work that was very personal and to open up a lot. And I don't know. I like to think, when I was starting to work on this project, and at least the way I work, I usually try to. I work. My approach as a photographer is more like the approach of a collector. Like I go around and I look for things and I take them home and then I try to put them together to create something new, right? So in this case, I had all of these photos that I took constantly, in a bit of an obsessive way. My college experience left me with a great desire to take as many photos as possible and to try to understand what's a good photo through taking all of these. And so I find myself with all of these hundreds, thousands of photos that, it's photos of all the things I see, all the things that I find interesting. And I don't know, in some sense, one could see them and think that they have nothing to do with, they're not personal photos because they're photos of things that I see. But I don't know, they're also such strong mementos of experiences, of places, at a certain point I think that what you feel often gets reflected in the photos you're taking, so that they could really be used as a bit artifacts of all these years. So that's why the idea of a diary came about. And I think that when this book, here I'm going a bit back and forward, but I think it works in both senses. But in this book, in the specific, I wanted to try to talk about myself really through editing, And I think if you make a book with 20 photos, you really have to focus on the photos. But if you make a book with 189 photos, you can really work with the other dimension, like with the way you put them together, with the text, with, in this case, like I think that the photos that are picked and the pairing with the text and their placement really open up. I think they give the possibility to make a work that would not look personal.
Yeah, you mean like with the flow of all the work?
Yeah, I like this. I think this is a good chapter editing-wise that I think shows a bit.
It's the second time that you stop in these specific pictures.
Yeah, I like this photo.
Why? Why you decide to stop here? This is a square in Bologna, I think.
Yeah, this is Piazza Santo Stefano. Yeah, that's very close to here. But I like this sequence a lot, this little chapter. I think it's... I like how the photos flow one to the other. I like how they create more questions than answer attached to the text. Like this is a bit of a story of my approach to photography in college. And I like that it's... I don't know. I try to work a lot with these little stories and with the way I phrased it and the way I put them down and the way they end up into the book. They moved around a lot, and it was really an attempt to, I think, to make something. You know how they say, like to make something universal, you have to make it extremely specific. But I try to keep it. I don't know. I try to keep it open-ended. I worked very hard to choose every word to try to make it really... there's in one of the chapters talks about this show that I once saw at the museum, and it was a Garry Winogrand show, and at the Met, I think it was the Met in New York, and I was completely blown away by. I got emotional. It was, I think, one of the first things that really shocked me in photography, and I was completely blown away by how many photos he took. Like how big was the world that he brought back home. Like you go there and it seems like it's a person that just did that every second of his life, and I don't know. It was so much and. It's something that I kept in mind a lot, and I really wanted to try to make the world that you see in this book big. And I don't know. I think there's something that a lot of people can resonate with. I don't know this idea. I don't know.
It reminds me a bit. Do you know that book that you can find in some, mainly in some restaurants, that is the reply book? It's a book that you open if you need an answer.
That's
and you can read Do It, for example, or Let's Wait Some Days, just that super short sentences. And I experienced something similar with your book, because I have this book right now from, I don't know, like 1 month, and it happens sometimes that I just open it to see what happened, like what I'm going to find, which one is going to be the short text that I'm going to find.
Yeah,
and it's the first time that I experience a book in this way.
That's fun.
And probably it's not the way that you want, because you maybe thought it.
No, I don't like. I don't care like how people respond to the book. I'm incredibly grateful and excited that some people are responding at the book. I think there's an amazing moment when the first time you sell a book to someone who you don't know, right? And they come to you, like I got this text from a guy who was super nice. And was like, I saw your book, I loved it. I lent it to a friend of mine who was at the hospital, and I was like, oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever read. But no, it's really cool to see like how people are experiencing it and reading it in a different way. Like I think that's the best thing in the world. And that's really funny to me that you're saying that. Also, when you tell me that you like look at the sentences one by one and not as a whole, I think it's great. I took a few years ago a workshop with Jason Fulford, And there was an exercise that the workshop basically like each one of us brought 20 photos and basically we put them all in a pile and we mixed them up, and for a whole week we worked with all the photos together. It was very cool. And there was one exercise that completely like killed me, like it ruined me. It was I still think about it weekly. And basically he wrote down a bunch of questions like what is art, what is translation, like what's the meaning of life, like a bunch of weird questions, open-ended questions, right? And so each of us had to take a photo that we thought matched and put it under the question. And so I don't know, like what is love, and then you put a photo of what you think is love among the ones we have. And then we move all of basically we put them in a circle around the table. And at a certain point we move all of the photos one spot to the right, so they change question, right? So if I don't know, one photo was under what is love, now it's under what is the meaning of life. And they worked so much better this way because it was not literal, and your brain makes the weirdest association, and I don't know, again, it made the world so much bigger and so much more interesting, and it poses you a question, it doesn't give you an answer. I think that's, usually it's the difference between art and illustration is how much you are telling or how much you are suggesting, and I think that's an exercise that really helped me to try to make the book less stupid when I was editing it. And that was making me, when you were saying about, like the way you read the book, that's an exercise that came to mind. And I think that it can be found in spirit throughout these pages. Yeah, Milo was telling me one of those two publishers, my
that is
Skinnerboox and Chiara from Leporello. But Milo was telling me, well, the first time I read it when I was in a good mood and I was looking mostly at the photos. Now he's going through personal things, and he said, "Oh my God, I read it completely different. It resonated with me so much." And I like to. I don't know, for me, like a very successful book, I don't know if this is it, but in general, it's a book you can go back to different times and focus on different things. I like it when it's an experience that is not exhausted when you turn the last page. I think that's something many people share. So in that sense, a lot of effort was made into trying to make it a complex experience. Doesn't mean it's a smart experience, but it's an experience that I think can work on different levels. Like you can focus on different things, and maybe you can find different things that are interesting.
And what is happening with the numbers?
It's fun. That's another. I love my designers so much. Like so the numbers go like a calendar, right? So like they go from left to right, from top to bottom. So they follow and this is the chapter I was telling you about the show of Garry Winogrand. What is it here? I saw a retrospective of photography in a big museum. So the numbers go like a calendar. My wonderful designers, when I approached them, I was so frustrated with this book because nobody understood what I was trying to do, and nobody was liking it. And so I was like, listen, I told them like all of the things I was trying to make, and I told them, do whatever you want. Don't change the sequence without asking, because that's the work. It's not about the photos, but it's about the way they're put together, and we can talk about it and have fun and try to do something. Let's try to work together. And so this is one of the very smart things I think they did, and I think it works really well. When you asked me about the photos, before you were saying what were you doing, how were you feeling, I really like to use these photos as objects and to be as detached from them as possible. To choose what works in a specific spot, thematic-wise, shape-wise, color-wise, subject-wise. But these I really try to use them as things I think it may be something that came from video editing, to really try to I don't know, like went to school to study cinema, and I tell you like the things you do, like when you sit down, first you have to put on your screenwriter hat and you write a script. Then you take it off, you put on your director hat. So like you have to forget everything that you had in mind when you were writing, and you have to kill the writer. So like you take out all the directions of the script, you try to make it your own, you try to change it as much as possible. And then you take off your director hat and you put on your editor hat. So you take out all of everything that the director had in their mind, and you're like, okay, what can I do? And so like here I try to take off I put on my photographer hat, I take all of these photos home, and then I try to take it off and take on an editor's hat, and like, okay, what can we do with this? Like, how can we take these things that exist and give them a new life and put them in a new place and make them work together? And yeah. Oh God, so many photos.
How much pictures did you like took off? Like how much do you select and how much were out of the selection?
I don't know. Like I'm a very sloppy photographer, so I think in general this is almost all film. I think out of 189 there are 2 digital photos. But I think I'm one of those photographers. When I'm lucky, I have 2 or 3 good photos in a roll. But most times 1, or a lot of times 1. And it happens no good photos in a roll. Like so, there's thousands and thousands of photos. First, the book was shorter because I was afraid to make it too long. But then I showed it around, and there were actually I brought it to a workshop with Stanley Barker, with the publishing house. And they were like, oh, no, from the photos you're taking, what you're doing, like, you can make it longer, 400 photos, 500 photos. That's insane, but maybe I can make it longer. And at first it was 180 pages, and then it became 360. And
so you said that in each roll you can have 1, 2, or maybe 3 good pictures.
If I'm lucky, yeah.
So what is a good picture?
It's a very good question. I have no idea. I think I keep taking photos because I still don't know what's a good photo. I think in this book and the specific, I don't know. To me, like a good photo is something that doesn't give me an answer. I think it can be a pretty photo, but I took out so many pretty photos from this book, and sometimes I'm bothered by the pretty photos because you focus on that part of the photo, and it gets boring quickly, right? And so I think it's photos that bring you questions. I think it's photos that that make you stop for a second. I think it's photos that there's something off that you can't quite put your finger on. And also, I think it's photos that work well in this specific case with other photos. So, like, it's weird. There are some times when taking photos, like some are more obvious and some less. But there are times when I take photos and I think it's a shared experience maybe, but there is something that you find very captivating while you're there and you don't know why. And you take a photo or 2 or 3 or 4 and you're like, why the fuck did I take like 10 photos of this place? And then you take them home and you're like, oh, I see, there was this thing that I saw instinctively, but I couldn't quite verbalize and understand at the moment, but it works. I think it's more about strong in this case, strong photos in a sequence, like photos that that work together and that I think good photos sometimes are photos where the subject is isolated from everything else, and that sometimes in a boring way is a portrait of someone that's isolated from the background or from the mess. But sometimes it means like a very clear theme, a very clear thing the photo is about, and when you understand that, when you have that, it becomes easy to play with it and to put them in a sequence and to use them as things.
I really like, for example, I think this book, like for me, it's mainly how text and images work together, because it's really powerful. And for example, I love this double page because the quote, the sentence, the text, it's amazing. I first came here on Valentine's Day, then I kept coming back, and then you choose this picture that is a place where, I don't know, it's you're not going to go there for Valentine's Day, or maybe yes, this is the point, because I think also it speaks to me a bit about the random part of life, that it's of course, like, we have all this idea of what we want in let's say in a perfect day or in our future, but it's not going that way. A lot of time it's just going somewhere else, and it's not perfect. And I like the fact that these 2 pages really fight. There is a fighting between the text and what you see on the right.
In this case specifically, like, usually the photos in the book are they're not from the month or from the story, from the thing they're taking. Like, they're from all over the place. They're from different countries, different places. In this specific case, like, this little chapter is from a project I was doing in Las Vegas. I first came in Valentine's Day, and God, I thought it was going to be a funny project. Like, let's go and take photos in Las Vegas. And oh God, it was the most fucking depressing things I've seen in my life. But yeah, it was, in this case, like, yes, the text and the photo are not playing together, they're playing against one another, because that was the experience. Like, and the rest of the chapter, they're not all from Las Vegas, but the theme is that, like, it's a project about love in Las Vegas, and that's so much fun. And like, this is a wedding chapel with a puddle of vomit next to it. This is this car wash thing of this mannequin. Like, it's playful, but it's depressing. Like, it's a bit about. There's a great one of my favorite movies. It's 8.5 by Federico Fellini, and a story I heard is that on the viewfinder while he was filming it, he had a little post-it that said, "Remember, it's a comedy." Because God, sometimes life is so depressing, and in this case, like, I have a bit this tendency also to be a bit heavy and a bit too much, and so I really enjoy put also a bit of irony and playfulness in the photos that sometimes don't match well with a bit of a depressing text, or vice versa. Like, I think it's fun to have also the other way around, and to try to make it a bit less monodimensional. And I think in that way it was very fun to work with 2 mediums at once, because it allowed me to play a bit also with different emotions, and it was very rewarding experience.
I want to ask you this. Do you think there is a kind of Italian school in photography? Because it's something that I start to listen quite a lot in the last months. Like, people that are not from Italy saying that they can recognize an Italian photographer.
I don't know what that means, honestly. I think we have such a strong, like, we have the big names in photography, like from the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, they're so they have such strong personality, and they're so strong and good and great. Like, every time I go to see a Garry show, it takes me a week to stop taking Garry pictures. I don't know, like, I have to get them out of my system because it's so pretty and beautiful and everything. I don't know. I think that, to me, like, especially young photographers, sometimes we tend to have a more standardized editing language, but sometimes, like, some Italian publishing houses or some Italian books tend to follow maybe a more specific way of editing. But I don't know, like, if people are good enough to tell which one is an Italian photographer, great. Honestly, like,
I'm still trying to understand.
I have no idea. I don't know, but no, but honestly, like, I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Is there any pictures that you are like particularly linked to in this project?
I mean, there's way back. There's a photo I really love. Let's all shoot back, which is a photo of my daughter being born, Vera. which I love. I was telling you before that there's a photo by Trent Park, which I'm obsessed with, which is the birth of his son, and he comes out of it's like a natural water birth, and he comes out of the water. You have all this mushed head, basically like almost breaking the surface tension of the little pool, and I wanted to take a cool birth picture. And so like every time, and I have 3 kids, and at every birth I go with more cameras. So it's a bit invasive. So that, I don't know. There's a lot of photos. I don't know. Like also, it's been such a process in trying to take out my attachment to these photos that at certain points I don't even I struggle to see like which one of these is a pretty photo, which one of these will people like, which one of these is strong, which one is weak. Like for me, like I was really looking just for the perfect photo to put in this spot next to this text and next to this other text. And it was really a lot about that. I took out a lot of pretty photos. I took out a lot of photos that I couldn't make match visually to other photos. But it's I don't know. Like it's I like this photo a lot, but I don't know why. I don't know. I like this photo a lot.
Which one? The one with the...
I love this little tree. I don't know. It feels so out of place. I love this photo a lot because, I don't know, I've never seen somebody changing those poster things. And so I was so fascinated when I saw a person doing it. Of course, there's someone doing it, but I never saw it.
This is a bit geary in some way, the concept, at least, because it's a frame inside a frame.
Yeah.
He's framing himself.
Yes, that is the logical explanation, and it's absolutely worth. Yeah, I realize like also it's so many photos, and as a photographer, I think we're naturally drawn to similar topics. So in this book, there's a lot of frames, there's a lot of squares, there's a lot of empty rectangles. And I try to group them a bit, and then I move them a bit around, and there's a lot of people waiting, and there's a lot of people in the sun. I don't know, like it's there's a lot of that. Still, I think it's very hard to escape. You see here, there's another little rectangle. I think it's a bit hard also to escape if you're an Italian photographer and you were grown here to escape your history and where you come from, like. Some of these photos feel a bit Garry-like, which I think is I'll be very happy with that compliment. But I don't know. It's
and how was and how is to watch these pictures after some time?
It's exhausting. It's I don't know. Like there's a moment where you finish the book, at least my experience, and you never want to see that book ever again. And I got God, I'm so happy I'm done with it. And then in the case like here's another frame, but in case of then you have to go around and talk a bit about it, and that was a very also like this podcast. I've never done a podcast before, and I think it's a weird experience to try to explain what you're doing. We're talking with Milo, who says that the publisher, it feels like you're explaining a joke sometimes when you talk about the Photobook, right? But it's part of the process. So a bit sometimes I look at this a bit with affection, with some. Sometimes it's a bit bothering, but I think this is the one. I think it's the only photo I took of where I asked my wife to stand there, and all of the others I really try to not to touch the world, to touch the things I'm trying to photograph. Sorry, just a bit of a detour. Yeah, I would say I look it more with the affection of like looking at a child that turned out fine. Yeah, but not great. No, I'm very happy. This is also like this is my book. Like I was incredibly lucky to find 2 publishers that like the book the way it was made, and they didn't have any edit. And this is the book I gave them, and this is the book they published. So on one hand, it's great because it's obviously a lot of pressure, but it's also like this is my book. This is what I made, and I'm a bit proud of it at the end of the day. And And also got to also find people who believed in this project as well and helped me to put it into the world. I think it's, I agree with you. I really try to edit. There are some photos that are clearly more personal than others. And I try to sprinkle them around, to have them a bit everywhere. I think it helped a bit to democratize all the photos and to give them the same weight in a certain way. Because you have this, like we're talking about the text, keeping everything together, but also some things are more familiar than others, and those help to ground the project. So some photos, there aren't a lot of people, but people are sprinkled all over, because I think it creates a more coherent world, a more complex world, and I don't know, it kind of helps to make the viewer care about the project, like when you see a photo of a child or my wife or stuff like that. I think some photo, I think the goal was to try to have them a bit spread throughout, to give a bit of weight to the other photos, like you were saying.
So Federico, some standard questions.
Go.
After doing this project, do you think you learned something that can help someone is approaching photography right now to work, I don't know, in a, let's say, better or easy way?
Easy? No. Better? No. I can tell you the way I think it makes sense to make these things is make something you really care about and it's really important for you. Because a lot of people will tell you, it sucks, it's not good, I don't get it, you should have somebody else do it, which happens to everyone, and you have to not think that your project is the best project in the world, because that doesn't mean anything, but you care about that project so much, like, no, I want to finish it, this is my project. I had a feedback from a person who was like, oh, I think you put too many photos, you should get an editor to narrow them down. I'm like, well, if you think an editor, you don't understand what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying it's good, but the goal of the project, it's for me to edit it, try to do something you really care about and you're really passionate about, and it can be personal or not, but that's all you can do. And try to put it in a box, in a book form that works with the project. But it's not gonna be easy, so no easy way. And yeah, but if you care about it, something will publish it with someone. You'll self-publish it. It will go into the world. People resonate with, I think, with with projects that matter to those who make it.
Do you have some specific music that you suggest to listen while watching this project?
Oh God, I don't know. I'm terrible with music. I listen to a lot of hardcore hip hop and I don't know. No, I'm not there yet. I'll get back at you if I get an idea, but I don't know. No.
And the last question is: do you have some books that you would love to have in the podcast, like someone that you suggest us to invite?
Do they have to be new books or?
No, of course we need the photographer.
No, I understand that it needs to be alive. I was wondering if it can be one of the older books or just, I don't know, I talked about blah, blah, blah. I talked a lot about Jason Fulford's book, so I think it would be great. And I love his work, but I love his earlier work more. So if it can happen, it would be Hotel Oracle, Mushroom Collector, I think are amazing works. I love... we're talking about, I liked a lot Federico Clavarino's Italia that he republished, which I thought it was a very good book. And, oh God, I'm terrible at coming up with things on the top of my head, but...
we need just one.
Oh, just one?
Yeah,
okay.
you can keep going.
And there's another book I don't remember the title, but I'll send it to you.
Okay, another
voice memo. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And thank you for all of you who stuck until the end.
I think it's not so hard. Yeah, it was a beautiful journey. I keep going, watching your book, I think, the next months for sure. Yeah, thanks so much, Federico.
Thank you so much for having me.
See you here for the next one.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, ciao everyone.
Bye-bye.
Here's
with my recommendations voicemails. So the album I would recommend you listen to were in a book is 60 Beneath the Moon by King Krule. And my book recommendation for you to have on the podcast is The Inhabitants by Raymond Mix. Bye from the train station. Thanks again for having me.